Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Today we are going to be covering the recent breakout that Bitcoin has had, continuing to brush up on some of the points in yesterday's analysis, and then we're also going to be diving into the total altcoin market cap because this chart is showing an identical fractal to the prior cycles that I think is going to be proving why we're about to see so much more upside this cycle than ever before. We haven't seen true alt season since 2017, and there's a few factors and reasons as to why that is. Let's talk about them and explain exactly what the charts are showing us so that we can be best prepared to capitalize on any direction the market takes moving forward from here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video, jumping into the price of Bitcoin. We needed to talk a little bit more about this prior range because I think that this is obviously going to be the most important way to play the market in the same way that it has been over the last couple months. We've been ping-ponging inside of this range, few false breakouts, just had this false breakdown over in here, and now we've been on this big run all the way up in this move. Now in yesterday's video, I told you guys that I was thinking that this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wave up, and we were still consolidating at the very top of this wave 5. After my video, we pulled back, we saw this correction, and once we retested the top of that wave 3, we ended up getting a buyback. So we can end up looking at this coming to one more high before this is over. I won't be surprised to see that by any means. However, when I am looking at this market, you guys got to keep in mind that even if we end up coming for one more higher high here, we're still looking at us approaching this major resistance level, and with us just having this false breakdown, I think that if we end up retesting this level, we're most likely going to end up seeing a pullback back down. So I just want you guys to be aware of that buying right now as we're at a major resistance, it just has a lot more risk involved. And so the better opportunity is, if assuming my wave count's wrong or something, and we get a massive sort of breakout, if we see a massive breakout outside of this range, and then we're kind of retesting that as support, then at that point we would be looking at confirmation of a breakout, and it completely changes the plan. So that's what we're watching for if we do see some sort of major breakout. But the truth of the matter is, over the last couple months, we've been unable to really get a true breakout from this. Even with the ETF, we had this big move, we retested this level, made a new high, but then we got rejected and sold back down. So when we're looking at this, we have to successfully hold this as support, and then we need to see some sort of continuation from that point. So in the same way that it's happened over in here, and then it was unable to hold and we saw a breakdown, in the same way it happened right here, this was just a bigger version of the same thing. We have to be aware that any sort of a move out here could be viewed as a similar sort of false breakout, and we just have to be aware that in the short term, if we saw a pullback back down, now that we've seen sort of a bigger breakout, in my yesterday's video, what I talked about was mainly the potential of this being a wave A, this is a wave B, and then we're going to end up seeing that wave C back down in here. That's still a potential, but as we've seen this big sort of a breakout right here, this big bullish engulfing candle, I do think that it points to the very real potential of us making one more high in the short term before we ended up seeing that sort of correction back down. Now, if we come all the way back up to retest this range high at $44,800, then I still think we're going to see a correction, but the correction level that we're going to end up coming to, I think will be about $41,500 to $600. Right into support of around this wave 3 and wave 4. That's kind of what I'm going to be looking for. It is still a possibility where we do retest all the way back down this lower support level of our range low at 40,100, basically 40K, just to give you guys an average number to focus on. That's kind of what I'd be looking at here. Our resistance is 44,500 to 800, and then our support is 40,600 to about 40,000 even. So I kind of think that the price is going to follow inside of this range. If we do see a correction back down, I'm kind of anticipating back down to the mid-range of this. The way the market looks, it does kind of look like we're going to end up seeing continuation out of this big picture. So now that we're seeing this impulse, even though we've seen this buyback in the short term, I'm still a little bit more skeptical, and I'm waiting for confirmation one way or another. I'm not trying to get greedy taking longs right now. I'm not trying to buy into a ton of stuff as Bitcoin's at resistance, because historically this level has proven to be a very strong one, and we've also had a couple fake breakouts from it. So that's what I'm watching out for with Bitcoin. Looking over here into the total market cap, we're seeing about the same sort of a thing. Now I do see the same Elliott wave count here as well. I see this kind of 5 waves up, and I do see the potential that this still is our ABC correction, before we see something like this. However, the way Bitcoin is reacting in the short term, it looks a little bit more bullish. Because altcoins are actually lagging, that's what tells me maybe this is an indication that Bitcoin will see a correction here fairly soon, and this is the ending of its impulse. Because generally when altcoins start showing weakness, it's before we're about to see a Bitcoin correction, and they might end up lagging or even leading Bitcoin into the correction. So as we've seen the altcoins kind of rally all the way back up into this, prior mid to high resistance level, I think that we're still looking for a similar thing. We're either looking at this being a wave 3 and 4 before we see kind of one more move back up here. That would put us total market cap at 1.667 trillion. We're either looking at that, or we've already pretty much finished that impulse, and this is the beginning of our wave C. Now with the total market cap big picture, it's held better support because of the fact it has Bitcoin, but we still never ended up hitting this prior level up here, the lower high. And with the total market cap, that's basically a little over 2 trillion and then to 2.16 trillion. So I do think that if we make one more high, we're going to end up topping somewhere at that point. That will be kind of a blow off top before we do see some sort of bigger correction back down. We don't have to come all the way back down to this main trend line. It is still a possibility and a potential to watch for. But any sort of correction like this is just going to be viewed as a great opportunity to get into the market. I'm really not going to be surprised to see a correction taking place, a multi-month correction taking place sometime this year. It's just natural for Bitcoin to do that in the same way that it did it right over in here for like 180 days. So I still think that the same rules are going to apply moving forward. It's just that if we get one more high, it's looking like the total market cap is going to end up running up to the top of its lower high. And if that happens, Bitcoin's most likely going to end up running pretty close to its prior all-time highs. Bitcoin's going to obviously be, leading the total market cap in price. So if the total market cap's looking like we potentially have one more high coming, then Bitcoin would be looking like it'd be running all the way up to maybe 55K approximately. So don't be surprised if that ends up playing out in the short term. What we're watching for is the way that the price is going to consolidate, because this, remember, can still be some sort of corrective wave before we saw a lower low. We still haven't broken out. We still haven't made a higher high. So all of that's still on the table. If we were to see this thing continue to just kind of reverse like we're talking about, though, I do think we'd do something along the lines of this before that correction would set in. The Elliott wave count would end up looking, something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up. And then this would be also 5 waves up right there. So big picture, we'd be looking at wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 of some kind, and then we'd still be looking at some other type of bigger impulse to come. But I think that, the Elliott wave count is kind of obsolete. The short-term Elliott wave count is what I'm more focused on. And if we're going to see a correction, it kind of lines up with one more wave 5, taking us to the tops of these lower highs. Because Bitcoin has already hit that, that's what we saw with the ETF, but the total altcoin market cap has kind of lagged in the short term. But big picture, when I'm looking at the total altcoin market cap, I see such similarities between each and every cycle. They look very much the same. Going into the fractals, I find it interesting that we're pretty much repeating the same pattern. It's just taking a longer amount of time to create them. From our first cycle inside of the altcoins, the top of our altcoin cycle in 2018 actually was pretty much the same sort of consolidation, where once we top, we make these lower lows and lower highs. We kind of fall to this final capitulation here, and it looks exactly the same, both scenarios, leading into this breakout right there. And then even in the consolidation after the breakout, we see the same sort of setup. The only real difference was COVID was a little bit more sort of, volatile than what we saw right over in here. But you guys get the understanding I'm trying to point to. It's almost that same sort of consolidation, even leading into this most recent breakout. Now, for you guys that probably weren't around all the way back in here, this was where Ethereum came on the scene. This is where Ethereum got added from the ICO. Then it went to like $23 right here and corrected back down to $6. That was also the same time when the altcoin total market cap did the same thing. That was when the altcoin total market cap was retesting those prior all-time highs as new support. And what I find really interesting is when we're looking at our entire last bear market and even into the last, cycle top of our bull market, we're seeing almost the same sort of consolidation here. We're retesting these prior all-time highs. It's just a longer sort of version of this same sort of pattern. And that's what I think is super important, is not only have we followed this original fractal, which I wouldn't even really be talking about this and this shorter term one, I wouldn't really be comparing those two, just because of the fact, if we didn't have this entire last cycle to compare and see how identical it actually looks to both of these markets, I wouldn't really be trying to draw this conclusion. But because this market cycle and this market cycle that we saw 2018 to like 2020 look so identical, it draws the conclusion that maybe this retest and breakout of prior all-time highs going into our most recent cycle, maybe it is the same sort of setup before we have that 2017 bull market. And I've talked a lot about why I believe in the 2017 bull market. When we're looking over here, I've made extensive updates mapping out why I believe that we're going to end up topping in here, why we're going to end up seeing a brand new all-time low for the Bitcoin dominance, and why it's going to be exactly like that 2017 cycle. When we're looking at the long term of this, it's just a big descending triangle. It's one of, either the most bullish chart patterns or the most bearish chart patterns, depending on how you look at it. And I do believe that with this being created over the course basically ever since 2018, it draws the same parallels and conclusion that the reason why this market cycle looks so much like the first one is because we're about to see the same type of 2017 bull run like we saw, prior to that move. We saw the same fractal play out, then the 2017 cycle bull market really set in. We're seeing the same fractal playing out, and I do believe that this is the cycle where that same 2017 type bull run is going to play out once more. When we're seeing all of the same conclusions being played out in a number of different charts, when we're seeing institutions buying Bitcoin and having the ETF approved for the first time in history for crypto, I think that you're only going to see that cascade and be a domino effect as retail gets more picked up in it. We still haven't even seen the majority of the institutions that are left, start jumping in. We've seen the big boys come in. Now comes all of the little guys. Now comes all of the listings on some of the main TradeFi websites and things. Now comes the merger between TradeFi and DeFi. And I think it's going to be such an amazing opportunity to just be a part of crypto. This is going to be the most, retail driven cycle ever. And I think it really does line up with how altcoins are going to be taking off and taking so much dominance away from Bitcoin, that it's just going to be a really good opportunity for anybody to, come into these markets, make a lot of long-term profit. Well, not even long-term, because I'm looking at this cycle being 1 to 2 years in length. So I think that we've really got that amount of time to come into the markets, make as much profit as we possibly can. But once again, guys, I point to the same conclusions, that if we're looking at this 2017 type of bull market playing in once again, most of you were not around to ride out that entire cycle from 2016 through to 2017. And I was there at the beginning of 2016 when I bought my first Bitcoin, and I had the opportunity of being able to see how that entire cycle played out. The amount of profit that was made in 2017 was so extraordinary, I can't even begin to explain how big of an opportunity it will be, assuming we have the same thing playing out once more. This last cycle was peanuts in comparison to 2017. It's very obvious to tell on the charts, but the value of this entire descending triangle being created over this long-term basis points to the conclusion that maybe this cycle is even bigger than 2017, considering now we have institutions, we have all of the institutional adoption that we've never had. Even in 2017, all we had there was Ethereum. So now imagine institutions paired with retail, paired with all of the people already in crypto, all in one massive glorious cycle. I just don't think it's going to get any better than what we have coming for us. And I wanted to break it down, explain what the charts are telling us so that we can be best prepared and positioned, because I'm telling you guys right now, a 2017 type altcoin run is upon us, and this will be the most life-changing opportunity in crypto that we're ever going to have long term. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you found value in this, do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you guys do want to end up seeing how I'm investing long-term over this cycle, anything I buy, sell, and trade, even if I take profits on crypto, when I take profits on crypto, over the next 1 or 2 years, I'm going to be positioning that money inside of other markets. There's just so many ripe opportunities outside of crypto that are going to provide similar type of returns as crypto. And I just think it's a good opportunity to anybody that wants to end up seeing what I'm actually doing with my portfolio long term. So if you do want to end up seeing how I'm positioning myself, you do want to join my private group, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Once again, guys, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're in my private group, whether you watch for free on YouTube. I love you guys, and I appreciate each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. I wouldn't be able to do what I love every single day if it wasn't for all of the people that watch this channel, and I just, I'm thankful for it. And that's why I like to give all of this value back to you guys, because I really really do believe in crypto being, you know, a great, probably the best opportunity you're going to find in the world to be able to just make life-changing wealth. I've seen my friends do it. I've seen myself do it. I've helped my family do it. I've helped even just random people in crypto I don't even know do it. And I think that this is only going to be easier to do inside of this cycle for the people that have patience, the people that have dedication to what the opportunity really presents, and, you know, what it's going to give us. Because I think that this really is, you know, the time buckle down to whatever this is going to end up giving us. And the people that have that delayed gratification that can kind of just put things away and hold the majority of that cycle are going to end up making a lot of profit in the process. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.